Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Columbus Day, Monday morning. Lulu and I are up and at 'em this morning. I hated that I missed last week. I had a little snafu with my puppy, Lulu, who is getting up there in age and was having some real challenges last Monday, and I was not able to do my recording at 8 o'clock. So hopefully you understand, and we are off to a new week this morning. All right, it is Columbus Day, and so I thought it would be interesting to hold Christopher Columbus up as an example of a leader. And specifically, there are 5 things that I wanted to share. And for those of y'all whom I've not met before, my name is Kristin Kaufman, and I come here every Monday morning at 8 o'clock with Have a Seat with Kristin, which is paying homage to my 3 books, Is This Seat Taken? And this seat is now taken with you, with me, every Monday at 8 o'clock. And we share insights and observations about entrepreneurship, leadership, and really anything that we think might be of interest to our followers. So that is the purpose for Have a Seat with Kristin every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. All right, back to Christopher Columbus. There are 5 traits that I think really help shine a light on some of the attributes that Christopher Columbus had. The first is he had a vision. You know, going back in our elementary school days, many of you all may remember how we studied about Christopher Columbus, and that everyone at that time thought the world was flat. And he was really seeking another way to get the merchants from the Far East, a shorter way to basically come and serve his country, which was Spain. And he believed that the world was not flat. He actually believed the world was round. And so he sought out to discover new pathways and ultimately discovered America. And I know there's a lot of debate as to whether or not he actually did discover America or not. Let that go. I'm not going to argue about history right now, but I am going to point out some of these leadership characteristics that Christopher Columbus had, which are really quite remarkable given the time of life on the planet Earth. So the first was he had a vision. He had a vision that it was indeed a round planet, a round Earth. He had a vision that there was a better way for trade routes on the planet, and he sought out to find out what that was. And that was his courage. That was the fuel for his courage, was that he had that destination and that vision in mind. And I think obviously that's very applicable to us as entrepreneurs and as leaders. All of us have a vision, whether that be to be a size 2 weighing 110 pounds someday again, whether that be to have X number of millions of dollars in our savings account before we retire, or whether that be to write a book by the time we're X age. Whatever the vision or the goal is that you have for your life, Christopher Columbus certainly had one, and he pursued that. So that is the first leadership lesson that we can take from Christopher Columbus, is that he had a vision and nothing was going to sway him from that vision. The second lesson was that be willing to take risks. You know, he was basically laughed at with his posse and the people that were supporting him. Many people thought that he was Looney Tunes, that he thought that the world was round, because the natural belief was that the world was flat. And people thought that if you went to the horizon, you would ultimately just fall off. That whole concept of gravity and all of that had not really come to the forefront of people's minds. So they didn't really know. And he thought outside the box and said, I'm going to go there. And he went there. So, that is the second thing. We have to be willing to take risks. And I can speak for my own self. When I left corporate America back 16 years ago, it was absolutely undoubtedly a risk. I mean, I was doing very well in corporate America. I had a fabulous career, but it was no longer fulfilling to me. I really wanted to do something else with my life. And that was the reason why I jumped off the high board. And it was a risk. A lot of people did think I'd lost my mind. In fact, I heard many times around the water cooler before I left, and certainly after I left, I had people come back and report to me what people were saying, and I didn't really care. In fact, I still don't really care. We have to chart our own path. We have to follow our own heart, and that does indeed most of the time mean that we have to take risks. Okay, the third leadership lesson, and this is the one that I really headlined in my post about this today, and that is we have to be persistent, and most importantly, we have to be resilient. And it's not easy sometimes, because we have roadblocks that are put up in front of us. Certainly in the year 2020, we've had a lot of roadblocks. I mean, COVID-19, all of the racial disrest or unrest, I should say, societal issues, just challenges, the supply chain issues, of getting things from China, given all of the trade disruption that we've had. There are a lot of challenges, and yet there's also a lot of opportunities. So, I'm not a believer in Pollyanna, glossing over things. I think we have to look the tiger in the eye, and we have to be persistent about what it is that we want, but also recognizing that there will be challenges. And so that means, as my mama used to say, we have to rise up on our hind legs and be resilient to tackle whatever the challenge is that is in front of us to ultimately achieve our goal. And Columbus had that too. I was just checking because I want to make sure I got the Queen's name right. Queen Isabella was the one that he was rejected multiple times by her, and I think she thought he was crazy. And he kept saying, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. And he kept trying to secure the funding, trying to secure the support, and ultimately he did get it. And if he had given up by being rejected by his own country, and letting Queen Isabella basically, squash his dream and squash his vision, then quite frankly, the world would probably look very different. Somebody else may have discovered it later, but he was the one who ultimately did. So the lesson there is, whatever it is that you have set as your dream, as your vision for your life, for your career, for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, be persistent and conjure up that resiliency that if you set your mind to something and you want it badly enough, and you believe in it enough, and I think belief is uber important, then we absolutely can indeed get to where we want to go. So that is the third lesson, to be persistent and resilient. The fourth lesson is to be flexible and be willing to adapt. And oh boy, this one's a good one, because I think sometimes we get grounded in whatever it is we think. If we keep working hard and we keep doing the same thing over and over again, we will ultimately get there. And I think, that good old adage of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is oftentimes the definition of insanity. We know that. So we have to be open to a different way, to a different route. Oftentimes God, the universe, will direct us to pivot. I really don't like that word, but it is the word of the decade. To pivot, to move in a different direction, and ultimately it might take us to the ultimate destination that we want to go, but in a different way. And I can tell you right now, when I left back 16 years ago, I had one vision of what I thought I wanted to do. And that vision has just taken a lot of twists and turns. I've had a lot of, I call them plot twists. But the ultimate goal is still the same. And the goal is for me to contribute to others, to help people reach their potential, which is my number one objective. And how I do that, particularly in COVID-19, is very different than how it was even 18 months ago. There are no large conventions anymore right now. There are no large stages. There are no collaborative board retreats that I used to facilitate. So I'm doing a lot of it online, a lot of it on video, a lot of it on Zoom, a lot of it on phone calls and on Vimeo videos that I send out to my clients. But ultimately, that flexibility is serving me very well, because everyone is in the same boat. And so they're being very responsive to the way in which I'm trying to offer up my services and the solutions. And you too can do the same thing. So, again, using Christopher Columbus as an example, more than once, he thought he was going to have to turn back to Europe, because he wasn't getting to where he wanted to go. And they were on one course and they had to detour. Had he done that again, things would have looked very different. But he just kept the course, stayed the course, looked at other destinations, looked at other ways in which he could potentially reach his ultimate goal. And ultimately he did get there. So that was step number 4, is to be flexible, be willing to adapt, be willing to pivot, and understanding that many of the challenges that are put in front of us are only there to strengthen us. It's sort of like that wonderful metaphor of the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Oftentimes, these caterpillars, they have to use their muscles to emerge from that cocoon. And if they emerge too soon, those wings are not strong enough to sustain them as a butterfly. So I do believe that to be true, that in our own lives, we are put into situations so that we will strengthen our muscles and ultimately be able to stand tall when we ultimately do get to our destination. And then the last thing that I will say, and it's really the umbrella for all of this, this video this morning, and that is to be a leader. being a leader means it does not mean that we're not scared. It doesn't mean that we have doubts. It doesn't mean that we have all the answers. It doesn't mean that we are all that in a bag of chips for everybody who follows us. In fact, that's not the case at all. But being a leader means that we are convicted, that we inspire, that we motivate, that we don't lose our faith, that we stay the course of wherever it is that we've set our vision to be. And certainly, we want to be charismatic in that we are encouraging people to stay the course. And when we have these challenging circumstances, we peel back different layers and we are resourceful and we try to find other solutions. And that is absolutely what being a leader means. So to recap, what we can learn from Christopher Columbus today on this Columbus Day on October 12th, 2020. Have a vision, set that vision, be willing to take risks, be persistent and resilient, be flexible and willing to adapt and reset our sails to catch whatever wind it is that we need to set. And then ultimately, never, ever stop being the leader that you would want to follow. So with that, make it a fabulous Monday and a great week. Again, my name is Kristin Kaufman. I'm here with my little puppy, Lulu. We come here every Monday morning at 8 o'clock with Have a Seat with Kristin. We share insights that we hope will start your week off with a great B12, as I call it, and give you something to think about. And hopefully on this Columbus Day, if you are off from work, you can kind of regroup, set your vision, get yourself regrouped for the week to start, perhaps even tomorrow on Tuesday. So with that, make it a wonderful week, and I'll look forward to seeing you